Well, hello there, and welcome to my video with terrible lighting. My name is Sarah Freshly, and welcome back to Freshly Read Books. I'm literally starting this video in the exact same spot with the same glass of wine as I ended my last video. That being the Gone Girl video. So basically, after I finished reading Gone Girl, I decided that I was not done reading mystery thrillers, even though technically the Halloween season is over. And I really had like 3 books that I really wanted to get to right away, 2 of which I had my eye on for a while but wasn't able to get to. So that's what this video is. It's reading those. So there's, like I said, 3 books. I've technically already read one of them and I'm like halfway through another one, but I just hadn't filmed an intro for this video yet. So that's what this is now. And then I'll cut back to updates that I've had about these books already. You don't have to understand the timeline because the order of this is gonna hopefully make sense. So the 3 books that I am reading in this video is The Thursday Murder Club, 8 Perfect Murders, and Children of Chicago. So I'm gonna start with talking about The Thursday Murder Club because this is the book that I've actually already finished at this point. To give you a brief synopsis on what this is about, it takes place in a retirement community with 4 people that are a part of the Thursday Murder Club, which is basically a club in which they get together on Thursdays and talk about unsolved murders and try to figure it out. As in try to figure out who did it. And then an actual murder happens in the story and it's like pretty close to them, as in like they've got like kind of a connection to this. And so they start investigating that murder and like trying to insert themselves into that investigation. So now I'm going to cut to some clips of my thoughts while I was reading this book.
I read some of The Thursday Murder Club. I love the feeling of reading this book, of being in this book. It's fun, and even though there has been a murder, the characters are just so funny and lighthearted about it, I guess, and because they see death all the time, and it's funny how they're inserting themselves in this investigation and trying to figure out more information about what's going on so that they can try to solve this murder like they solve, unsolved murders. I did get further into the Thursday Murder Club, so now I'm over 200 pages in, and I'm really enjoying being in this book. You know how some books, they just feel nice and happy to be in the middle of? This is one of those books. It's just pleasant, even though it's obviously a murder mystery and finding out who did it and all this. There's something about it. I think it's the characters and how they interact or something, but it's really, really nice, and I like being in it. Also, there was a quote that I really liked. So one of the police officers, her name is Donna, and she's talking about this first date that she went on. But the quote was, at one point Donna asked him who his favorite author was. For her, an acceptable answer would be Harlan Coben, Kurt Vonnegut, or any woman. And then Gregor had sagely replied that he didn't believe in books, and that you only learn in this life through having experiences and keeping your mind open, which wholeheartedly disagree. Should you live your life? Yeah, absolutely. But there are going to be a lot of perspectives that you don't get if you only rely on what's right outside your front door, and even if you travel. But I did really like that she'll accept 2 male authors and then any woman author as being a favorite author, and that says something good, which I'm trying to think. I don't know if I've ever met a guy whose favorite author was female. Just food for thought. That being said, I don't think I know that many people's favorite author, because it's such a hard choice, but I did like that my favorite author was on the list.
Oh, hello. Welcome back. So now that I have finished The Thursday Murder Club, my thoughts on it. I think that I really hit peak enjoyment about halfway through. It is still it's very fun, it's lighthearted, it's an enjoyable book to be reading. However, I think that there was just a few too many characters that didn't have enough background for me to be able to follow them well, that I started getting kind of lost towards the end. And I started not understanding who was who. And it's totally possible that that was on me. but that is something that I experienced. That being said, I do think that the ending was like overall satisfying, and I like the group of people. I think it's a fun group of people. Will I be picking up another book by Richard Osman? I think that I would. This was his debut novel, and I think that I'm interested enough to pick up more. It's also very clear that he likes Kurt Vonnegut, which I mentioned a quote where he mentions Kurt Vonnegut in the book. But also there was a little "so it goes" moment, which if you've read Slaughterhouse-Five, you may know about, and it was definitely a reference. I feel like sometimes books will have "so it goes" written, and you're like, I don't know if that's actually like in reference, or if it's just 3 words that are in this book. But for this one, I'm pretty sure it was a reference. So that already gets me on his side. If you didn't know, I like Kurt Vonnegut. These are all Vonnegut books. So I'm also participating in a Vonnegut read-along thing over the course of the next year. If you want to know more information about that, details are in the description. Please join it and just fuel my need to talk about these books all the time. And then now I'm in the middle of Children of Chicago, which is actually a book club book for my in-person book club. And I will cut to some clips of that, and then we can actually do this video in like a linear timeline. Look at us. I guess not us. Me. I was the one that messed this up by not filming an intro. Who needs intros, am I right? Until you're halfway through filming a video and you're like, oh wait, I need an intro. Anyways, I don't know. Cheers.
I listened to The Children of Chicago, which has gotten very weird.
So this is Sarah from the future again, because I realized that I never gave like synopses for any books besides the Thursday Murder Club, because it was the first one I was talking about. And so I'm here to do that now. So still not quite a linear video, but it's fine. So Children of Chicago is about a police officer, well, detective, I guess, named Lauren, and she grew up with her dad also on the force, but he is now off the force, and then her longtime partner is leaving the force, so like she's got a bit of like a transition going on work-wise, and then also she's been like in some situations, I guess I'll say, on the force that have led her to make decisions that maybe not everybody agrees with and is very upset about. But the whole premise, like that's kind of her situation, but the whole premise of the book is that like a kid is shot in Chicago, where this is all taking place. Obviously it's called Children of Chicago. You could have figured that part out. And there's a tag mark left that says Pied Piper, and then there's this like sinisterness to it, and so she's kind of like looking for the connection between this like children's tale and also these what's happening within the city. So yeah, now you can take a look at my thoughts while reading it.
So I can't tell if it's like almost fantasy or like, I don't know how much of like the fairy tale aspect of it is real, or if there's going to be like this explanation for it all or something, but it's very weird. But it does give like kind of spooky vibes, which I wasn't really expecting from this book. I don't know why. I decided I was going to read this book like months ago when it was picked for my book club, and then I didn't like really think about it after that. Like I didn't reread the synopsis or anything like that like right before I was reading it, so I didn't really remember anything about it. But it is like a bit spookier than I thought, which is really nice. The main character I kind of struggle with. It's very clear that she's got like something that happened in her past. It might be related to this whole thing. It seems like it is. I don't really know. And she's like a police officer, so she's on the force, but I guess there was something that happened not that long ago with the case that she did where like people don't really trust her that much. So she's got like a lot going on, and she like never sleeps, which really stresses me out. But she seems like a good person to follow because she seems super invested in all of this. And I am too, obviously, considering it's the main plot of the story. So
I finished Children of Chicago. Didn't love it. I think it gave me all of the like atmosphere that I wanted, I guess. Like there was a lot of very spooky things happening and like not knowing if things were, I guess, in this world or like in more of like a fantastical world or a fantasy world. And so I liked like the play on that through like the first half. But I never really connected with the main character. I always have a problem with main characters that are like police officers or detectives or somebody whose job it is to investigate with like mysteries and stuff, because I don't know, there's something about like a mystery story where the person's like deeply connected to whatever it is, and this isn't their job. They're just like trying to figure this out as they go along. Whereas with like a police officer, it's like I don't really care about like the dynamics of like of their partner and like, I don't know, all of that stuff I'm not a big fan of, and I don't really like reading about, and it's harder to get them to feel connected. And even though I feel like in most cases those stories, they do have some type of connection or something about their past that makes this particular case like really close to them, or they feel like really close to it. And that's the same as in this book, but even still, like I just didn't really feel that. Ending wise, didn't love it. Honestly, it's really hard to talk about without spoilers, like my overall feelings, but I'll just say I didn't love the ending. I didn't feel like anything in like the second half of the book really expounded all that much on what we learned in the first, and it was just so slow paced. Like things were happening, but it wasn't like at a pace where it was like giving you more information each time. It was like the first half was like, you don't know anything, and the second half was like, you know everything, but we're gonna keep telling you things like you don't know them yet. And it was just ugh. So yeah, I think that the connection to like Grimm fairy tales, that's pretty cool, and like learning about those, that was kind of fun. But besides that, I don't know if I would like recommend it to others to read. Yeah, it makes me not want to go to Chicago. I've been, and I had a lovely time. But after reading this, I'm like, ugh. Anyways, I am on to 8 Perfect Murders, which I've actually already started since I was listening to Children of Chicago. This has been like the book that I've been physically reading since I didn't have a physical copy of Children of Chicago. Hi, back again. To tell you about the synopsis of 8 Perfect Murders. So, 8 Perfect Murders is about a man that runs a bookstore, or owns a bookstore, and he's worked there for a while, so since before it was his. But at some point, in many years ago, he made a blog post that was 8 perfect murders in books or in novels or something along those lines, and he listed out a bunch of books and their murders and like why they're perfect, as in they're very difficult to like trace back to who did it and why and everything like that. Then one day a FBI agent shows up at the bookstore and asks to talk to him about this list because she is suspicious that there's possibly murders that have been happening that could be related to this list, like somebody's out there recreating this perfect murder list and like killing people. So she kind of wants his help because he knows the books better than she does, having not read them at that point. And so basically they're trying to like work together to figure out who's behind this and what they can expect next, and if it's actually related to the list at all. So go ahead and check out my thoughts on this one. But I think I'm not even like 100 pages in. Yeah, like 80 pages in. And so far, I'm really liking it. It does have like a million spoilers in it for other mystery books, which I guess I should have known going into it. I'm hoping that like there's so many that like they'll all just blend together, and that if I ever go to read any of these books, then that won't be spoiled for me, you know? I'm trying to just like not connect too much with like any of the stories that are mentioned. But they did mention Gone Girl, which I thought was really cool because I just read Gone Girl. But yeah, and then it talks about like why Gone Girl was such a big deal, and basically says the twist without saying the twist. Like if I was reading this and I hadn't read Gone Girl, I would still know probably more information than I'd want to know about it. And that's all I'll say, because I don't want to spoil that. I already have a whole video where I spoil the whole thing. So if you want to hear the entire plot to Gone Girl and my reactions to it, I definitely recommend watching that. But otherwise, I'm having fun like reading it. It's a fun book, and it definitely keeps you interested and keeps you wanting to read more. So I'm glad that this is the book I'm ending this on. So I think it was just yesterday that I last talked about this book, which was basically just to say that I had started it and my general feelings at that point. Now I'm less than 100 pages to the end, so I'm expecting to finish it today, and I'm still liking it. It's got a few like twists and turns that I didn't expect, but like the way that it tells you as the reader what those are is very interesting. We've got like a fourth wall break, which I always love in books, or almost always, I'll say. Almost always love in books. But I think that the real aspect of this book that I like is just the atmosphere of it. It takes place during a northeastern, as in like US Northeast, like snowstorm, or just like a lot of snow. And so that feeling to it, it's not like inhibiting anybody from going anywhere, which I do love those kinds of stories, but it just adds to like the overall atmosphere of it, which I'm really enjoying. But I do think it's doing a good job. I thought I knew what was going to happen at one point, and I think I got like part of it right, but was wrong about, like very wrong about the other part of it. So it's fun that I feel like I'm at the place where I can try to guess certain things, but that it's not so easy for me that I can just like figure out all of what's going to happen or something. So yeah, I'm having fun with this one. I think it's a good read for like deciding to do mystery thrillers for a video. I'm really happy that this is one of the ones that was on the list for me. All right, and one more time I'm back to talk to you about how I felt about 8 Perfect Murders as a whole after reading it, because I didn't film that, and also I didn't film just like an outro for this video in general. In my defense, I did get the flu. I actually thought that I filmed this part. Like, looking back, I really felt like I'd talked about it, but I think it's because while I had the flu, I thought so much about like, oh, don't forget, like you need to film your final thoughts on 8 Perfect Murders. And I thought about what I was gonna say, but like I was in no state to be doing that. So here I am. It was the flu too, not COVID. So overall, 8 Perfect Murders, I had a lot of fun reading this one. I thought that it was a good mystery book for what I was like looking for at the time. And that was really, you know, all I could ask of it, I guess. There is a good twist in it that I very much appreciated. And I liked how the book continued after you learn that as a reader. And just overall, I talked about the atmosphere being like my type of atmosphere. I love when mysteries or thrillers are set in cold climates or during winter or during a snowstorm. So it was nice to have that. And also just having like that northeastern, that US northeastern feel to it is, I feel like that's just a really great area to set mysteries and things like that. So yeah, for all like the atmosphere, it was perfect. As far as characters go, I thought that they were pretty well written for it being a mystery. I think that that's always kind of tough to find and not even really necessary. Like when I'm reading a book like this, that's not exactly what I'm looking for. I don't need to have like these super well thought out, fleshed out characters. It's always a bonus, but I know what I'm there for, if that makes sense. I'm there for a fun story that's gonna keep me guessing, which this one definitely did that. But I will say that I think that the characters were pretty well written as well, so extra points. So the overall reading experience between Thursday Murder Club, Children of Chicago, and 8 Perfect Murders, I would say that my favorite of them, I think, is gonna be the Thursday Murder Club. It did kind of lose me towards the end, just because there was a lot of characters that were kind of peripheral, but kind of important, that you didn't learn enough about them to like be able to actively keep them in your brain, but they would show up again. And because of the number of them, it made it even harder to remember who they were and everything. So that was tough, but I think I understand because this is actually the first book in a series. The second book is out already. I can't remember the name of it, but I'll put a picture up. So I think that maybe the point was to be able to lay some groundwork for the future in the series without making it seem like the first book was written without the second book in mind or the third book in mind, which I can definitely appreciate, because when a series comes together and it's very clear, like at the beginning, the author had some idea as far as what was going to happen in the future in the series, and they, you know, just lay little things in for that, then I really like those things. So if that's why I had that feeling, then I'm a lot more forgiving of it. And maybe I'll have to continue in the series in order to find out. Also, I think that the parts that I liked about the Thursday Murder Club did kind of outweigh that. I really liked the characters of this book. I thought that they were very funny, and there were parts that did have me laughing, which I do love in books. And the area that it was set in, like the retirement community that it was set in, Richard Osman did a great job of showing that location and giving you a feel like you understand the location very well, which is super helpful in a book like this one, and will be super helpful for laying the groundwork for future books in the series. Coming in just behind that one would be 8 Perfect Murders. I would say that they were pretty close in how much I enjoyed them. Like I said, atmospheric, and just like a fun read in general, very quick read, as this one was the shortest book by far of the books that I read for this video. So yeah, I had a lot of fun with this one. And then at the end, I would say Children of Chicago, which is also the first book in a series. I don't think the second book is out yet. I think that this one just came out, if I'm remembering that correctly. I don't think I'll be continuing in this series. I struggle with specifically why I didn't really like the plot as a whole. Like, I was interested to find out what was going on, but I think that I could have easily DNF'd this book while reading it and not cared about what happened. And then when I realized that this was the first book in a series and that I wouldn't likely fully find out what happens by the end of it, then I was really like, okay, this kind of just, like, I already didn't really want to finish this one book to find out what happens. I certainly don't want to finish like many books in this series, but I think part of that is just my personal preference. I'm not big on like detective books unless it's specifically Sherlock Holmes or like Agatha Christie novels, but typically I won't even try because I don't expect much from books like those, and I probably wouldn't have picked this book up if it wasn't a book club book. And I ended up not even being able to go to the book club for that one, so, but oh well. Yeah, but of the 3, that was my least favorite, pretty easily. That being said, I do think that it gave me more of the spooky vibes than any of the others, just because it was the most unsettling and the most like, I didn't know what was going on at all. I was very confused, very thrown off, and there was an element of, you know, there might be something very weird and unnatural or supernatural happening here. But yeah, those are 3 mystery books that I read back to back, and I had a lot of fun doing so. So if you've read any of these books, I'd love to hear what your thoughts are on them, or if there's any books that you think I should read, any more mystery books that you think that I should read, please let me know in the comments, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.